I hear this argument all the time to bring that, why do you want an AK-47? Why do you want an AR-15? You can't hunt with it. Says the person who knows nothing about firearms. There is this thing on the gun called select fire, where you can pull the trigger one time and get one bullet. I understand you probably don't want a fully automatic AK to go deer hunting. That's not exactly
and I'm not worried about the deer turning against us.
No.
Right? So let's look at Chicago, for example. Obama's hometown is #1 in shootings and murders. And up until now, it had the #1 toughest gun control laws in the country. So, hey, Obama, I'll let you in on a little secret. Criminals don't obey gun laws.
Well, we see every holiday weekend, especially 4th of July weekend. I'm sure it's the same if you look it up this year. Massive numbers of shootings. Yep. And the place is supposed to have be a giant gun-free zone. They say, well, the reason why we have so many shootings in Chicago is because people get their guns from other areas. Okay, well, other areas where they're getting these guns, is they have the same number of fatalities that Chicago has. No, it's a ridiculous argument. You have criminals who, lo and behold, don't respect and understand the law, and they choose to go about that. That's why I believe the average American citizen should have the right, and does have the right, to be armed.
Yeah, well, it's our God-given right. And by the way, those shootings in Chicago, not one of the shooters was a member of the NRA. Tell us what's coming up with the interview with Michael Cargill.
Okay, so I wanted to talk to Michael Cargill. He's been on our show before, of Central Texas Gun Works, a local gun shop here in Austin. And we talked about the things we were just discussing, Governor Brown and the things that are going on in California, as well as many other things that are happening in our nation that we definitely think that you need to know about.
And if you think it's going to stop in California, think again, because they are coming for you.
Jakari Jackson here for INFOWARS.com. There's been a lot of recent developments in the world of the Second Amendment, so we came here to Central Texas Gun Works to talk to Michael Cargill. Now, Mike, there's been a lot of things going on. Let's first talk about the things that's going on in California. So we saw recently Governor Brown trying to push through a few bills. Can you tell us about the changes Californians can expect?
Correct. So now in the state of California, California is going to be able to track your ammunition purchases. So it doesn't matter how much ammunition you purchase, you're going to have to notify the DOJ, and now the government's going to know exactly what you're doing. And also, high-capacity magazines, anything that's over 10 rounds are now prohibited in the state of California. You're going to have to destroy them. So California is going the other direction when it comes to gun rights.
Right. So are any of these measures that you just mentioned, in your opinion, constitutional?
Oh, absolutely not. What concerns me now is that now we got to look toward the Supreme Court, because these cases are eventually going to go to Supreme Court, and now we have a problem with who's going to be the next president, who's going to appoint that Supreme Court justice. So people need to consider, who you're going to vote for when it comes to this current election, and how that's going to affect us here in this nation as far as our Supreme Court.
Now, with the candidates remaining in the presidential race, do you see any of them as a friend of the Second Amendment?
Yes. I do see Donald Trump as being someone that's going to support the Second Amendment. Hillary Clinton, I'm sorry, no, she's not going to support the Second Amendment at all. You can look at the things that she said. So we're definitely going to have a serious problem. She's going to come in and do just as much, if not worse, as the current president that we have.
Now, Mike, maybe you can explain this to me. You own your shop here. After every mass shooting, we always hear, the talking heads that come out and say, Americans want gun control, Americans want gun control. Meanwhile, I'm sure you see a spike after almost every mass shooting. People come in here buy record numbers of firearms, AK-47s, AR-15s. Do you have any idea of why that is?
Every time there's any type of mass shooting, what happens is people are concerned about their Second Amendment rights. They're concerned about their personal protection. So the media, or some people, want you to believe that the nation wants more gun control, but then their actions say something else, because whenever there's a shooting, people flock into the gun stores. We just had that recent incident in Orlando. Now you have the people in the LGBT community coming in and getting their handgun license. They're purchasing a gun because they're concerned about their personal protection. What we need to do is get rid of these no-gun zones.
So are you a supporter of the campus carry?
Absolutely. I support campus carry. I support carrying everywhere. There should be no reason why we should have any no-gun zones at all. We should be able to carry in bars, should be able to carry in schools, should be able to carry in, everywhere. Get rid of the no-gun zones if we really, truly care about saving lives.
All right. Now, briefly, you'll touch on some local news here. We were talking a little bit ago about the situation going on at City Hall. They have a nice big no-gun sign on the front door, but that could be changing here pretty soon?
Absolutely. What we've done here in the state of Texas, you have a lot of different state and city municipalities are violating the law. For over 20 years, the city of Austin and other cities have also been violating the state law and prohibiting license holders from carrying inside the building. Now, what we've done is in September the 1st, 2015, we had a new law that went into effect that says that, hey, a regular citizen can file a complaint against that city agency or state agency for violating the law. And that's what I've done. So I filed a complaint with the Texas Attorney General's office, and they ruled on my side. The city of Austin's got to take down that no gun zone sign, that no gun sign, and allow license holders to carry inside that building.
All right, thank you so much, Michael Cargill, Central Texas Gun Works.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Dads demand guns because it's me that's got to get up and go check out that noise at 2 a.m.
You know, Australia is a good example. Canada is a good example. The UK is a good example. Why? Because each of them had mass killings.
Somebody somewhere will comment and say, Obama politicized this issue. Well, this is something we should politicize.
I'm not going to carry a gun. I don't want to be involved in a gunfight.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in.
Go ahead. Make my day.
So the notion that gun laws don't work, it's not borne out by the evidence.
He says that Chicago police had a plan over this bloody 4th of July weekend. Nonetheless, as you indicated, Corey, there was a count of casualties that could have been from Afghanistan or Iraq.
We'll make it harder for law-abiding citizens, and criminals will still get their guns.
In many cases, the offenders, felons, some out on parole, some out on bond.
We have to respect the tradition in this country of people who want to defend themselves and their family from violence. There are people at high levels in this government who have bodyguards 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The average American does not have that.
Mayor Bloomberg, why can you defend yourself but not the majority of Americans? I mean, look at the team of security you got.
Every day, every school, at every level. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this, and we need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
Was this the weapon of choice for a new kind of terrorist? When a 5-year-old girl said she and a classmate should shoot each other with bubbles, the school called it a terrorist threat.
AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals.
You know, the right to bear arms is because that's the last form of defense against tyranny.
Lay down your arms, you damn rebels!
But we don't need the ability to arm ourselves against the Army or the police.
What kind of a situation in the U.S. would you see that happening?
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons.
Discovered the clergy would help the government with potentially their biggest problem, us.
To say we're not turning our guns in, and we're not running, and we're not backing down. If you want them, come and take them.
Rallying patriots worldwide in defense of human liberty. It's Alex Jones.
You know, with all this talk lately about gun control, it occurred to me that I've yet to see a single politician who can explain to me how they plan to take guns away from the criminal thugs who are out there on the streets right now. Oh, sure, you'll hear plenty of talk about how they plan to take guns away from us law-abiding citizens. But if you take guns away from all of us legal gun owners, then the only people that will have guns will be the bad guys. In fact, I'm curious. I want to see a show of hands right now. All those for gun control, raise your hands. All right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyone else? See there, that figures. All the usual suspects. Any questions?
Unfortunately, you've grown up hearing voices that incessantly warn of government as nothing more than some separate, sinister entity that's at the root of all our problems.
It's time to stop submitting to this tyranny. It's time to realize that we're being enslaved.
Some of these same voices also do their best to gum up the works. They'll warn that tyranny's always lurking just around the corner.
Tyranny with a capital T.
You should reject these voices.
Everything that's been done with torture, rendition, the NDAA, the Patriot Acts 1 and 2, from day one was focused on the American people, period. That's it. It's always been about erasing the Bill of Rights and Constitution and rolling out NSA spying publicly, saying it's for Al-Qaeda, rolling out torture, saying it's for Al-Qaeda, but it's really for the general public, rolling out total control and the end of any underground free market systems in the name of fighting Al-Qaeda, but really shutting down any type of free commerce. This is all about converting us from a free society to a tyranny with a capital T.
What happened? So while we're there, you probably read it. It was in Drudge, who's great, by the way. Drudge is amazing. But the story in Drudge, and big story, it's all over the place now. Guys swimming across, and big bags of stuff, it's drugs, swimming across the river, right? Swimming right across. And they put the drugs, and actually the camera crew, or the reporters, were petrified because they thought they were going to be killed. Because they're showing this on camera. The guy's carrying bags of stuff. It was drugs.
And on that topic of the drugs, it's not just people coming over, but bringing drugs on a general, let's say a month. What type of drugs do you encounter and what quantities?
The most common is marijuana. We see thousands upon thousands of pounds weekly. We do see a lot of cocaine. We're starting to see heroin and meth a lot more. Usually those were reserved for the ports of entry, but now they started running those across the river as well.
What happened today in particular is that the Border Patrol dropped off some, they call them detainees, but obviously they're not detained after they drop them off. And normally they have tickets or arranged transportation to go somewhere in the interior. Well, today, apparently for some logistical reasons, some of them hadn't had transportation arranged, or their transportation is tomorrow.
Right.
And so we're having to find places to shelter them for tonight. So we've accessed some resources that we have. We're going to shelter them here tonight.
So why is the Border Patrol bringing them here?
They're not bringing them here, they're bringing them to our bus terminal because that's where the Border Patrol understands that they have transportation to go to the interior.
Right.
So they're dropping them off. It's our understanding that they were dropped off with tickets or with vouchers for tickets. Turns out some of them didn't have their ticket or didn't have their voucher, or like I said, their bus isn't until tomorrow, so they got nowhere to stay. Our bus terminal, by ours, I mean the city of McAllen, the bus terminal is not a 24/7 operation, so we've got to put them up somewhere else. So for tonight, we're doing the best we can with this resource, which thankfully one of our neighboring cities made available to us, and we're going to put them up here tonight. Tomorrow we'll have a little chat with the Border Patrol and see what's going on.
They're supposed to be protecting this border. You mean aiding and abetting. What do you mean specifically?
Actually, what's happening is that the federal government is actually completing the smuggling cycle by having a parent sending their child to the U.S. border and having them smuggled. That is only part of the smuggling cycle.
Okay. How long was your journey to get here? It took us 2 months. We were working and working on the way up until we got here, where we're at. We just want to complete the journey, but we're already tired and thirsty, hungry. Eventually we'll get where we want to go, but it's getting impossible.
As far as the people coming over, are your agents encountering any type of infectious diseases, people with illnesses as they cross the border?
Oh, most definitely. We see tuberculosis pretty regularly, scabies more often than not. We have large amounts of infectious diseases as far as scabies go. And the interesting part with that is it's not actually seen on the body during the infectious period. And so these people